Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, October 19th, 2017. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. CEO of the SVG Tourism Authority, Glen Beach, says St. Vincent and the Grenadines was poised to have a good 2017-2018 cruise ship season, even if neighboring islands were not affected by the passage of recent hurricanes. At a media conference today discussing issues in relation to the tourism industry, Beach said this tourist season is expected to be a big one for SVG.
As he has stated, this is the largest cruise ship season we've ever had in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I know some people will say it is because of what has taken place up north in terms of the hurricanes to some of our sister islands, BVI, USVI, Dominica, Barbuda. Let me just point out that whether that took place or not, this was going to be our largest cruise ship season ever. Since the hurricanes unfortunately hit up north, we've received, I think, 4 more calls. And that's it. I do think we'll receive more. We have spoken to the cruise lines to let them know that we are open for business, and that if they need a place to bring their ships, they can use St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But it was always going to be a large cruise ship season, no matter what. So
Beach added that the increase in visitors presents an opportunity for Vincentians and tourism stakeholders to lift their game and deliver quality service.
That being said, we also have to make sure that we give our best and put our best foot forward, from not only from the government and the tourism authorities side, but every Vincentian, to make sure that those cruise lines that are visiting here because of what took place up north, that their passengers have such a good time that they want to return next year. And we just have to make sure we do what's right, all the stakeholders, not to take any visitor for granted, to always make sure and put your best foot forward and make sure we treat everybody equally, pleasantly, and that our customer service is excellent. I keep on saying that, you know, when it comes to tourism, we're up against every other country in the world. It's not a matter of just our neighbors like Barbados and St. Lucia, but we're up against every other country in the world, so we have to be better than good. We just have to be excellent and put our best foot forward.
Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, Cecil Mackey, said the first cruise ship of the season will be arriving here on the 26th of October and will be one of 300. He added that work is expected to commence at the cruise ship terminal to accommodate increased arrivals and larger ships.
Should have just over 300 calls this year by cruise liners to the destination. We should have about 9 calls from the Britannia. Of course, that is a 4,000 capacity vessel, and very shortly we should be able to confirm that there is an even larger vessel that will come to our port this year. We should have another media conference on the 31st of October. By then we'd have updated figures for the cruise calls, and we should give you some more accurate numbers. But basically, we are seeing increased interest in the destinations St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and that is reflected in the number of calls to the destination. So over 300 calls and capacity of over 300,000 would visit our shores. Very encouraging news. I think we should have some work done at the cruise terminal so that we can accept even larger boats, because we have seen an increase in the size of the vessels that are now moving around the Caribbean and other regions, and as such we have to prepare ourselves accordingly.
And the Tourism Authority CEO has expressed elation at the number of expected flights which will arrive in SVG during the Christmas season. Beach said he is pleased by the number of flights coming in from Canada through Sunwing and Air Canada Rouge.
I must admit, though, that when we got Air Canada Rouge and still had Sunwing flying in for this coming winter season, this tourism season, I was a bit worried about in terms of if we would be able to maintain that and have the requisite number of people on each of these flights. I'm happy to say that from Sunwing, December 16th, we have 163 people coming in on that flight. Sunwing's planes have a capacity of 180. So December 16th, 163, this is so far. December 23rd, 175. January 7th is sold out, and January 14th, 145. Air Canada, December 14th is sold out, and December 21st, they're 80% of their seats are gone. So those are good numbers for us. I look forward to seeing even better things out of Canada.
In relation to securing flights from the United States, Beach said the process is more difficult than what is required to get flights out of Canada.
A bit more difficult to get the approval to fly into the U.S. than it is to fly into Canada. With the U.S., airport has to become operational. TSA makes its first visit, then it makes a second visit a few months after. Once TSA makes its final visit, and I'm subject to correction on a few of these things, once TSA makes its final visit, it sends its approval or denial to the Department of Transportation of the United States, which can take up to 120 days for that approval to come through. So there's a bit more to get done in terms of being allowed to fly into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But as I said, Cal has already applied for their approval to fly into St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as American Airlines. So we're hoping for some good news sooner rather than later. We should be having some meetings, some follow-on meetings with Caribbean Airlines, hopefully next week, to see what we can do to have their flights coming in at least once a week before Christmas. So we're working on that.
While stating that it is also important to secure flights out of the United Kingdom, Beach said the expected return of the Buccament Bay Resort will aid in the process of securing more flights to SVG.
The coming back on stream of Buccament, hopefully sooner rather than later, that will aid in our negotiations with the airlines, because it means we have those 200 plus rooms back in circulation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that is important to the airlines, because as important as the diaspora is to our negotiations and how often they come home if they have the direct flights, and the diaspora is very important, what the airlines are more concerned about is the leisure traveler. And most of these airlines also go through their tour operating business, so they not only want to sell flights, they also want to sell rooms through their tour operating business. So it's very important for us to have the room stock up, and as you've heard, the Honorable Prime Minister has spoken about hotel development and moving forward that. So once we even get more rooms, it will make my job a lot easier in terms of attracting the airlines. But I think we're doing fairly well so far, considering.
Meantime, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves has dispelled what he described as negative talk over the reopening of the Buccament Bay Resort. At a media conference held on Tuesday at Cabinet Room, Prime Minister Gonsalves said that there are keyboard warriors or internet crazies trying to cause confusion. He explained that the resort is in the process of bankruptcy and the necessary course of action is taking place within the law to facilitate the process.
There is a trustee in bankruptcy who has been appointed, and he is receiving the proposals as to what will happen. And then he has to go to the court. The government has been involved in those discussions too, with KPMG, which is the auditing firm headed here by Brian Glasgow, and he's the point man. And sometime next month, November, they will go to court and say, listen, this is what we are proposing.
The Prime Minister gave the assurance that the resort will be back in business by early 2018.
And there are several entities which have made proposals to manage the company, manage the resort, and to put some money into it. They're not going to be owning the resort. But the court will have to give the sanction for it because it's in bankruptcy. And assessments have been made as to what is there, different entities, what money they will put in. I can't talk about the details of this, even though some of that information has come to me, because that is for the business of the liquidator, the trustee in bankruptcy. But the timetables which he has given, and from the proposals which have come to him, and the timelines, suggest that Well, all of them suggest that it would be in the first quarter, early in 2018, that we'll see Buccament up and running.
Students of SVG Community College met today with Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves at the Villa campus, where the discussion focused on educational funding opportunities available in the various sectors of the country. The Prime Minister, who is Minister of Finance, advised the students and other persons to be more prudent in their pursuit of higher education. PM Gonsalves described the university education as an investment which costs thousands. He said many persons are not knowledgeable about the real costs of university life and they end up in financial bind. He also warns of pursuing an education at offshore universities which could cost as much as $250,000.
I would like to disabuse you of the notion that they are cheaper. Those are set up especially for people who come from overseas with money. And they will cost in excess of $500,000. And at least one of them will cost near to $750,000. And if you are dealing with a 3-year degree, when you take into account the economic costs, you're talking about a number somewhere between $160,000 and $180,000 at the University of the West Indies. And you go elsewhere, it's more expensive.
The Prime Minister said his administration has programs in place to help facilitate students, such as the Support for Education and Training program. He said it is important to pursue higher education so that one could earn a decent living and contribute to the family and the economy.
Because you want to be able to have the benefits of your professional training, your university training, to contribute more to your country and your family and to yourself, to improve your living standard. Make a little money to buy a piece of land and begin to build your house and put something aside as you go along. And maybe if you're inclined to buy a car. And I want to speak to the girls, the women here, the young ladies. Don't feel that you're going to wait on a man to marry you to get those things. In fact, I want to tell you, make sure you get your land to build your house and build it, and if you do it before you get married, if the man behave foolish, you could throw him out.
Vice President of the opposition New Democratic Party, the NDP, Sinclair Leacock, is calling on the government to deal with the issues affecting this country in more practical terms. Leacock, who was on Nice Radio, said that while crime can be tackled if police officers are given more support, it is also important to facilitate an environment with more opportunities to help Vincentians be more productive.
It's been there by the political philosophers, whether it's been Hobbes and whether it's been Locke, where some people take the position that man is basically worthless, no good, scampish, brutal, criminal, violent, and will always be so we can't tame man. And the others who have the view, no, that's not man. Man essentially wants to be good-natured and mean well and to be his brother's keeper. But we have to sometimes provide the environment and the opportunities for him, for his goodness to come out. So if those are philosophies that always be held there, it's for those of us who hold in the corridors of power to do the things that will enhance the goodness of man, and I believe that's the way part of the solutions lies. But I'll speak more to this as we get closer to the 12 o'clock hour, because so much is on focus with respect to the police force. in this regard, and rightfully so, that I think I need to join in expanding on that as part of the short-term solution.
The opposition MP said media practitioners in this country need to become tougher in asking questions that matter to the people and not to be intimidated.
Even though he was not being ebullient in the way he was answering questions, sometimes our journalists still feel intimidated and fearful and afraid to ask questions. You heard one or two of them who came after trying to dress up the question in all kind of clothing, so that it's almost short to say, don't vex him in the Prime Minister, but I'm going to ask you this question. You're going wrong, you're dressing up the thing so much like you're almost afraid that the Prime Minister will say that's a stupid question or a dumb question, or you can vex you because you ask questions. You are an important part of their state in keeping preventing the democracy. And when you are before the leader of the opposition or any opposition parliamentarian or government parliamentarian or Prime Ministers, stand up and be counted and represent the interests of what is good for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and get your journalist legs and get a badge of honor and ask the tough question. And if it's not answered, persist and insist that you want an answer to the question that you've asked, and if they want to vex, let them bid. But that's how journalists have to deal with all politicians, myself included.
Concerns have once again been raised about the issue of illegal dumping in capital Kingstown. This as authorities were prompted to clean up 2 areas near Little Tokyo bus terminal earlier today, which were considered a health hazard to the public. The other area of concern is in the vicinity of the agriculture import warehouse, where coconut refuse is constantly dumped. Our news team was able to catch up with some concerned persons who expressed disgust at the situation.
These are from the coconut vendors them, yes, but they pay the cartman. Cartman take the easy way, come damn them they are. They pay a the cokeman collect the money fast, and they stick them in a bag, pull them down and throw them there, instead of find the solid waste. So something needs to be done.
Now this morning we do a little cleaning up, and we have many more to do. We understand that the people them who selling in the carts with coconut, paying people money, and them including the coconut shell them to the waste master them, all they doing is dumping them all over the place. And anybody we find doing that, they will put themselves in serious trouble. And we're trying our best for make St. Vincent and Grenadines 38 independent be happy, clean and nice. So anybody we catch have to pay the penalty. I'm Mitchell Gordon.
This is Kevin Hamilton from Moyes Village. I work at Kingstown Board. And this is just the start. This is a message that we're putting out to the public and everybody. This is just the start, right? We clean up the whole of town for the independence and everything. Understand? We ain't really just picking and choosing. We're just doing it the whole entire town. Understand? It's like a general cleanup, right? Thank you very much.
Job and your duty to control this. This is a crime that's going on because it's a disease that is infecting people. It's not me alone, it's other people, children going to school, other people, and we have to make sure rectify this problem. So
9 junior Calypsonians from 6 secondary schools will be taking part in a Calypso competition next Wednesday at the Victoria Park. Speaking at a press conference on Wednesday, President of the SVG Calypsonians Association, Earl Cabba-Bennett, said the competition seeks to bring awareness to the issue of climate change and its impact on the environment.
We have seen Irma and Maria. Thank God we weren't affected, but it will not happen in the northern part of the Caribbean to our brothers and sisters. We could speak of BVI, Dominica, the devastation that occurred there, and they're still wheeling even after in the aftermath of those 2 horrific superstorms. So we understand the importance. So the Calypso competition is to bring public awareness, to sensitize the public about the importance of climate change and the hazards and vulnerability of climate change. What can persons do? What can we do as a community? The Calypsonians will attempt to sensitize you and educate you while they entertain you about what we can do to mitigate against climate change. It's a responsibility all of us owe to ourselves to ensure that we do something.
Bennett praised the young Calypsonians and the participating schools.
There's also 5 targeted communities, and at our behest, she graciously consented to extend it to all secondary schools. Well, the response we had was from 6 secondary schools. We were aiming for 10 finalists. We got 6 secondary schools with 9 finalists. And I want to commend and congratulate all the writers and the Calypsonians who will perform next week, Wednesday. Of note is the Sandy Bay Secondary School, which have 4 entrants. Of the 9 Calypsonians, 4 originate from Sandy Bay Secondary School, which Calypsonian Mitch is the songwriter.
Representative of the local Red Cross Association, Julia Simmons, also the coordinator of the Climate Change Project, says that she is pleased to partner with the Calypsonians Association to aid in sensitizing the public on an issue of national importance.
It comes at such a fitting time, as Mr. Bennett stated, the number of disasters and superstorms that we've had. Persons might not understand climate change as seriously as we do in the disaster management work, but sometimes just giving somebody a piece of paper to read is just not enough. It needs to be catching, it needs to stick to persons, and who better than the youths of our nation to do that. And we're very happy to partner with the Calypso Association to do this. I'm learning a lot as we speak at the moment from them, and we're also happy to ensure that it goes forward in such a monumentous way with the independence celebration that's going to happen. It's going to bring out the flavor, it's going to bring out the talent for the youths, and I'm definitely looking forward to it, as the other persons in our community.
As the RSVG police force continue their investigations into last weekend's shooting incident, in which 8 persons were shot, one of whom later died, they are seeking the public's assistance in locating Romano Andrews, aka Russian, who they say is wanted in connection with the incident. Andrews is a Vicentia national who the police say is to be approached with caution, as he is considered armed and dangerous. If seen, persons are asked to contact any police station or assistant commissioner of police in charge of crime at telephone numbers 451-2467 or 457-1211, extension 217, or the officer in charge of major crimes at 456-1810, extension 216 or 220. Calls, they say, would be treated confidentially. A Pan Against Crime concert will be staged this Friday in capital Kingstown. The concert will be hosted by the Pan Against Crime Committee in collaboration with the National Commission on Crime Prevention and the RSVG Police Force, commencing at 5:30 p.m. at the vacant area next to the the General Post Office in Kingstown. Symphonic Steel Orchestra and the police band will provide music. Representatives of organizing bodies of the PAC program will bring brief messages at the concert. The brainchild of Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves, the Pan Against Crime program was started in February 2008, establishing 13 new steel bands in communities and schools throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. With assistance from the Embassy of the Republic of China on Taiwan, Petrocarib, and the National Firearms Board, the Central Leeward Secondary School is the latest recipient of PANs from the PAC program. The J.P. Eustace Secondary School at Edinburgh will be the next beneficiary of PANs when a set of instruments is handed over to that school on November 3rd, 2017. Other PAN concerts will be staged in the upcoming months at various venues as part of the committee's preparation to celebrate its 10th anniversary in February 2018.